microbrews in the courtyard. No need to leave early. They're not going to serve them before time, so you have to stay the entire session. I'm giving this talk with the real hero of the day, which is Matt Latterell from the University of Oregon. And Matt is the one who will be doing the main course of this presentation, talking about this wonderful facility, the Knight Law Center of the University of Oregon. I'm going to do an appetizer. Is that not long ago, I moved to the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, and one of the tasks and the reasons why I moved is because they had a very interesting remodeling project to do there. Remodeling is not as much fun as building something new, but it's also very, very entertaining, I can assure you. If you want anything from this presentation or questions, at the bottom of every slide, I'll put the address of my home page, and all this information, of course, will also be on the CALI website. Let's start. This renovation takes place in a building which is now named Sillerman Paul, and it's almost a century-old building. And let me tell you, a century ago, they were not thinking about fast Ethernet or Gigabit Internet or any sort of network. It was really not ready for that. However, it's a beautiful building. We like to preserve it because it's part of the heritage of the university and the law school. So we're just remodeling it. Some of the challenges. Well, as we built a new law library about 5 years ago, then we went for and tried to push the latest technology at the time, and we did. But within the law school complex, the Sillerman Paul, which is the oldest building, we still installed there 10-base-2 wiring and electronics. Some of you might not have seen that technology for a while. It's still in use there, and it will be replaced in about 2 or 3 weeks. So that tells you how challenging this project has been. Part of the issue with this renovation project, this is a very large institution, at least for what I'm used to, about 35,000 people. And that means that we have to have a good relationship with campus networking, because we have a little bit of a monopolistic relationship here. We either buy the services from them, or we don't get any services. In connection with campus networking and renovation, we're trying to do cool things, because that's what we really like. And one of the coolest things that we've been able to do is playing with the internet too, trying to start some projects that will give us some recognition and will help us do interesting things. And particularly our law library has been very, very active trying to develop a digital library. But a year ago, somebody announced a $15 million gift to the law school, the largest we've ever received. And what a coincidence! Our oldest building gets renamed after the donor. So we start planning like crazy before things fall apart and trying to cash in the money as soon as possible. And pretty soon, as a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, kiosks began in the law school. We started the construction. Of course, we take advantage of the fact that classes are over and we don't have a summer session. But still, this is very trying on everybody, particularly faculty members who wanted to stay around for the summer to do their research. We have had to play some really interesting games to accommodate them in different offices. Where is Sillerman Paul? I repeat, University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. I need to say this because many people then send me email to Pittsburgh or some other place. This is West Philadelphia, which is also not the nicest neighborhood in Philadelphia, but one of the goals of the president of the university is to make the entire area a much nicer area through housing programs, through renovations and remodelings. And this is part of that master plan of enhancing the entire campus and surrounding areas. This is a law school complex. On one side, we have Tannenbaum Hall, that is the law library, relatively new building, 5 to 6 years old. Then we have 2 annexes, Roberts Hall and Pepper Hall, administrative and faculty offices. And then we have the old building, unnamed in this drawing because we were probably looking for the donor at the time. And this is a large building where we host many of our faculty offices and classrooms, the courtroom, new conference center, and some of the institutes, the Institute for Law and Economics and the Institute for Law and Philosophy. So there are a lot of things going on in this building, and now that we're renovating it, what is going on is construction, lots of construction. What is it that we're doing? Well, we're deconstructing Sillerman Paul. We start with facade renovation, which we want to make it look good on the 100-year-old anniversary. Windows, brickwork, masonry, absolutely everything. Inside, we have to do all the offices, mechanical, electrical, network, and telephone wiring, very complicated. We want to put a new state-of-the-art conference center and a new mood courtroom as well, so that we can accommodate not only our students, but also special events that we'd like to sponsor through our institutes and our institution. And finally, very complicated, asbestos abatement, which is always very complicated. Whenever you have to do work in older buildings, be ready to spend an outrageous amount of money to have a specialist come and take care of that. In addition to that, of course, then a couple of offices will come and say, oh, since you're already building something, why don't you fix my office? Challenges. First one, arrange all the work schedules around classes. Some of the work will continue throughout the school year as the summer is over, but other parts of the work will have to be interrupted towards the end of the summer and then picked up again a summer later. It's very complicated for everybody. For the people working at the law school, for the contractors, for absolutely everything. But we have to do it. Then the most important challenge, the most complicated thing is the chair game. How to move faculty and put them in different offices. I had a conversation this morning with Jim from Latterell who told me they wrote a 22-page document outlining what are the rules for office selection for faculty. We had our share of complications. It's very complicated. We are used to the faculty offices. Some of them have been in the same office for 20, 25 years. They don't want to move. And instead, we're putting them in a study room in the library or some other location. But at the end, they cooperate because they don't have other choice. Also a challenge is that the larger the institution, the most complicated it is to deal with different people in the institution. For example, 35,000 people means a large IT organization, project management, facility services, compliance specialists, everything else. On one hand, there's a lot of support for these projects and expertise. On the other hand, anything that differs a little bit from the norm will start at World War III. And finally, of course, to preserve the building, something as simple as putting an overhead projector, a big one, might not be possible because the ceiling does not have enough support for that. If you try to run cables underneath the tiles, you might not have enough room to do that. So you have to circumvent all these things. And of course, asbestos, which is one of my favorite words, as I keep pronouncing it lately. Okay. What do we have to fight all these challenges? Mainly people. First thing, we went with an architectural firm with expertise renovating all buildings. Tim Arnold is our architect from Shalom Lorraine's Associates in Washington, and they have been terrific understanding the complexities of this project. Also, recently the University of Pennsylvania decided to outsource most of the facilities management and construction to Trammell Crowe. I don't know if any of your institutions do the same with these or other organizations. Turns out that they are very professional, and that really helps. We have a project manager assigned to these, and he's very, very competent. We also have a good campus networking group. This might surprise some of you who renegade from your counterparts at Central IT, but we have a good one. They are good professionals, maybe not as progressive as we would like them to be, but still they're very solid professionals. And finally, we have good administrative support from everybody. The dean, we have facilities manager in-house, Joe Policarpo, an outstanding audiovisual professional, Gates Rhodes. Absolutely everybody is really involved in this project because we want the school to look its best on its anniversary. Wiring is one of the most complicated issues here. There are a total of over 2,000 ports. I think this is a lot, and many of them are not used that heavily. Our student body is about total 900 people if we count the LLMs and other special students. But still, the point is that they want to connect in different locations, in the classroom, and in the library, and in the study rooms, and everywhere else. So you have to wire everything. In the oldest part of the building, we move in from 10-base-2 coaxial cable, not even twisted, to category 5 plus twisted pair cabling, because 2 weeks from now, if everything goes well, as soon as the new fiscal year kicks over and I get more funding, then we're replacing absolutely everything to switch fast Ethernet in the building, all over. Wiring is complicated also because we don't know, not everything is a planar environment. There's this asbestos problem in different hallways that were not anticipated we would need to work on. And finally, there might not be enough conduits to run all this. If we consider that we also need to coordinate this with the rest of the construction crew so that the different trades don't interfere with each other, it gets to be very complicated. Finally, even though our law library is a relatively new building, at the time when we built it about 5-6 years ago, there were no Category 5 jacks. They were not Category 5, they were Category 4 plus, and therefore are not ready for fast Ethernet. So what we need to do now is go ahead and replace them all. Even though it's only the termination, we're talking about over 1,000 ports, over 1,000 terminations, so an additional cost and inconvenience for everybody. I'm glad we noticed that now and not after we install the electronics. Okay. The issue with the network electronics, which is still one of the hardest things to justify to any dean, in my opinion, is what is the proper life cycle of network electronics? And some of us might go for whenever we can afford new ones, and we'll buy them because they're neat and we can do really cool things with them. Or every 3 years, every 5 years, or when it falls apart and nobody can even really make the equipment run and in our case, we have digital networking equipment. I don't think digital is in the networking equipment anymore. But since I've seen a digital server in this building, I'm going to shut up about that. To tell you how old our electronics are, the ones that we're replacing 2 weeks from now. 1945, they are working on the ENIAC, they're about to install our network electronics. What are some of the technologies that we chose for this project? I'm not saying we did a comprehensive research of every available technology and selected some. Instead, we went with something that would match our existing infrastructure and that of the campus. And for us, even though we did some tests with wireless and things like that, we came up with the conclusion that in our environment, we needed cables as we had used before, as we were using already in one of the buildings of the complex. We're using fiber optic cable all the way to the building and to connect the different communication closets in the building, and because it's spread out, we have several of them, to each other. We're using switch fast Ethernet with twisted pair cable, Category 5 plus, all the way to all the desktops. We're trying to consolidate access points, being 4 buildings at different points in time. We have different tube connections to the main campus network. We think that having 2 adds problems, doesn't give you the best treatment or support or anything. So we're trying to consolidate into one big switch or router. We still don't know, depending on the distance to the nearest point. That will help us connect the law school at the maximum available speed. We're trying to become one of the native nodes of the routing core for the entire university. And this is very important for us. If we have one of the routing nodes inside the law school building, even though we're giving up some space, we get the best support available. And most important, a direct pipeline to the internet and the internet too. So we can do all the cool things we want to do. What is the price for that? Just be the first one to volunteer one of your rooms with air conditioning and everything else, and then here, you take it, I'm not going to charge you anything, even though you charge me for everything you do for me. Very important in this process is the relationship with campus networking organization. In case they hear this, they're wonderful professionals. This is a very monopolistic service. We all know that. If you ever try to run and connect to the internet and to other services in the university without going through your campus networking organization, you might have problems. The first one, they could tell you, oh, this is not secure, we will not grant you access to the financial systems. Something as simple as that. There's also the issue of the university culture. Is that, well, the issue of fairness, of saying, well, we should not upgrade you until we have upgraded the rest of the departments. My good news, probably anthropology or classical languages don't have the same resources or needs that the law school has. And whether it's fair or not, we have some needs that our faculty members need to address. And for that, we need to move forward and get the latest technology. We looked for options regarding acquisition, service, and support so that we could have something to bring to the negotiation table. And even though we couldn't do many of the things, such as going with a different provider, we could have different support models with our networking organization and private vendors go ahead and move with this. And finally, in this organization, I heard this from one of our senior administrators: the squeaky wheel gets the grease. At the very least, complain, and complain, so that people there know that there's something wrong, that there's things that are not being addressed, instead of having the problem forgotten. And this is such a monopolistic. I'm kissing the hand. I'm kidding. Part of the improvement for the relationship is to tell them why we need advanced technology. We have a digital library. We want to be able to take very high quality graphic images and deliver that to the rest of the world and to other institutions as fast as possible. That's a legitimate application for good bandwidth. We want to deliver video inside the law school, therefore we need a switch network running fast and everything else. Those arguments have helped us bring the rear and break down any problems or impediments that are put by the main campus organization. Be a good citizen of the university. I participate in all sorts of committees. I don't even keep track of the names any longer. Participate in all of them, give the point of view of the law school, and at the same time, I'm influencing all the decisions I'm making policy. And of course, while I have the well-being of the university in mind, I also have the well-being of the law school in mind, and I try to get those two goals together when I participate in these committees. Whenever I complain, I try to tell them this is the problem and this is how I would fix it. Of course, you might have other alternatives. I'm willing to listen to them. The next thing that I did is share my cost-benefit analysis with main campus networking. When I consider bringing somebody from the outside to help us with support and things like that, I just shared that and we worked something out so that intra-university support could be equally good. And finally, the serenity to accept those things that I will not be able to change, and there are some of them that I will not be able to change. Let me give you an example. It is the policy that non-individual network can be faster than the routing core at this university to prevent the routing core from flooding. That means that until they have Gigabit Internet or something faster, I cannot have Gigabit Internet. I need to accept that, and the only way to overcome that is to start a small network inside the law school that will connect my servers and my backup servers, Gigabit of some other speed that will not flood the routing core, but at the same time will let me take advantage of that technology. Still, there will be things where they will say no, and there's nothing we can do about it. Some of the digital library projects on which we're working, that's the address, so you can check them out. Some of them are probably familiar with this because these projects are in cooperation with many other universities. These are joint efforts. Some of them are studies in Scarlet with some significant law documents that we're publishing there. And we're basically scanning some of them in high-resolution images and giving the Adobe Acrobat text-based and high-quality images so anybody can access them. And for this, we want the high speed of internet too. It's not required, but let me tell you, when you're going through 50 or 500 documents at the same time, it really makes a difference. Other examples, also from the library, session laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for that period of time from 1700 to 1999. Minutes from the National Conference of Commissioners on Uniform State Laws, and a special webpage by one of our librarians regarding law on the Holocaust. These are the kind of applications that we're content that we're trying to bring and use Internet 2 and other advanced technologies to deliver that information to the rest of the world. This is an example. This is Mr. William Penn, who's a very famous figure in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, in his office, counseling clients. A little bit about Internet 2. Well, you're probably going to hear a lot about that. Basically trying to regain the bandwidth that universities have lost to most commercial providers, so you can do actual research on the Internet and stream information very fast from one place to another. Even though this was meant initially for supercomputers to exchange calculations, well, it turns out that every single department in a university could take advantage of this. And I encourage absolutely everybody in this room to try to seek applications for Internet 2, something that will contribute more towards this research effort, so we flat Internet 2 and we move into Internet 3 as quickly as possible. And we were connected to Abilene. We have a Gigabit in Philadelphia, and in order to pay for the connection, we have teamed up with some of the local universities. There are about 12 universities in Philadelphia, Drexel and Temple and St. John and many others, by having this collaborative effort and a private and an independent consortium, which is a word that we've heard many times today. By having a consortium, we were able to share the costs, the really huge costs of this Gigabit. Okay. Other projects that are interesting but not necessarily that much Internet 2 related. We have a nice conference center. We're going to have it. We couldn't do before technology-rich conference sessions. We lack not big facility to have people with their computers and share information. This is a given for many of you. It's going to be for us. We're trying to do video conferencing, but we've been using ISDN, and we think Internet 2 is the right way to do it. In fact, I've already talked to some of you about celebrating joint staff meetings so that we can have our technical staff meet with viewers over Internet 2, and at the very least do something cool and maybe exchange ideas. It could be a good starting point. Of course, on-demand delivery of video and audio. All of those videotapes that are hanging in the library, if we could code some of the best, of the most used ones, then this could be a terrific way of delivering that information. Finally, we're trying to do a little bit advanced research in statistics and mathematics, and this is particularly with the guys from the other side of campus, from the Wharton School of Business, where they have a really good expertise. So we try to team up some faculty members with them so they can exchange this information in real time. And finally, as I mentioned before, that backup and fault tolerance pipelines that I can have in my building with whatever technology we want to, in order to have a very smooth background for the network. Internet 2, a nice logo that I have to put there, so the application has some graphics and things like that. And then finally, these are some of the things that people think I like to do, putting software, spending the day on the beach, working on a new construction project, working on a school remodeling project, and speaking at CALI. They're right, I like all of those things, although sometimes have a problem with some of them. I break a leg playing soccer, or I have many headaches with construction projects. But on and off, I think it's worth it, and I encourage all of you to come pay us a visit, either now, and you can help, we'll give you a hard hat, and you can help. Or at the very least, once we're finished, if you are ever in Philadelphia, please stop by, we'll be very happy to show you around. And I'm going to turn this to Matt, and have a seat and do nothing. Oh, good.
Hi. Thanks. It's been a great day for us so far today, I just have to say. I've been saying this at other things I've been toured before, but if it hadn't been for the CALI conference, we probably wouldn't have gotten the building done. And the dean mentioned that this morning. There's a lot of truth to it. There's an awful lot of truth to it. There's one thing that we've learned about construction projects is that there's no such thing as a deadline. No such thing as a deadline. I get to basically tell you a little bit about the building you've been walking around in. Show you some pictures and tell you a little bit about what we've learned. What's in the building? Well, we have a lot of network. Same as anywhere else. We have about 1,500 data ports, all 1,100. About 1,000 right now are currently live. All the classrooms, all the seminar rooms, library, hallways, common space. Not the bathrooms, not the closets. Actually, I found some closets with networking in them. I don't know what we're going to do there, but there are little janitor closets with networking in them. Cool. Hide away and do some networking. And that doesn't include the network closet, of course. There better be networking in there. We've got 2 network closets, all patch panel, which has been both a lot of fun for us and has created some additional work for us. Telecom calls us and says, you got a new phone number to hook in. So we can do our own phone hookups now, which is exciting. You know, things go a lot quicker, but isn't something that we're used to. We got a call just before this session saying, row 2, switch 2, number 39, Newfoundland. Within the building, we're going to have a gigabit backbone between all the switches, fiber optic, and to the servers that we can put gig cards into. We're just now, as part of the network renovation as far as our server renovation, getting new machines. And to the rest of campus, we're at 100 megabytes. I think we were at like 56K in the old building. So it's a vast improvement. And then the other real exciting component to what we've done here in this new building is all the classroom AV, which we've been able to take advantage of pretty successfully today, I think, without too many hitches. This is a terrific example of the system, and if you have a chance during a break to take a look at this AMX unit, if you've never played with one, it's just terrific. Can't imagine anything being easier than switching between inputs to cable TV, a videotape, and a computer. I mean, that's blown me away. A dozen microphones and other audio inputs, other video inputs. The classrooms are really terrific. What's the process we went through? Well, first assembling the team, and a lot of what Paulo said is exactly what we went through here. New building, old building, you got to play the same games. Our process started with the same sort of donation. In our case, Phil Knight of Nike gave us $10 million. $10 million. Right over the top, $10 million to finish the project. The total building expenses, I think, right now are about $28 million. So, but $10 million will get you a name on the building. Developing the vision, the wish list, as far as technology is concerned, was probably the most enjoyable part of the process, gazing into that crystal ball. And what we ended up doing with our architects was really coming up with some nice visuals. And I tried to show this before at the walkthrough, and hopefully I can show it now. Some really nice digital renderings of the building that made a big difference as far as how we could see it and what we thought we were working towards. Various pictures, and this is what I wanted to show earlier today, was a virtual walkthrough that we produced, which actually looks like the building now. And 2 years ago, we had no idea what the building would look like, and we had this to show us. And if you walk around the building today, you'll see, in fact, that that's what we've got. So it was a lot of fun to vision and sky's the limit. Why not think about everything you could possibly have, not worrying about the cash, and not worrying so much about where the technology is then, but thinking about where you want to be now. And don't say no to anything. That was what we ended up doing. Of course, then we had to start saying no to things. When the AV budget was $200,000 higher than we thought it would be, what did we keep and what didn't we keep? But now I look at this and I know exactly where I am, and it makes sense to me. Before, it was this terrific thing that we could hope for, and in the past couple of months, it's really become reality. We did quite a bit of research. We looked at wireless. We looked at all the different technologies that are out there. And wireless is something we're still thinking about. I mean, I really want the bandwidth that we can get plugging into these cables here right now. But I think down the road, I keep thinking of Star Trek. Thinking 10 years from now, where is this building going to be? Is it going to be a joke in 10 years? Got to keep thinking out there, and I think wireless is definitely the direction we're going to go. We don't have enough switch capacity right now for all the ports in the building. We already ran up against that. I found 500 network jacks in the library that we had never counted, and we had 100 ports in our switches for them. So right now we're going to do hubs and switches on the tabletops, but we need some more switches on our server. And all the time we were working on this, we wanted to focus on the goals, educational and organizational. How is this going to help our students? How is this going to help our faculty? Not just how is this going to help the IT staff have more fun in our regular workday of 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. Partnering was really an important process for us. Obviously, the financial partners were indispensable. But as part of what we worked on over this past year was finding corporate partners. Specifically, we were working with IBM on server equipment. We talked with them a lot about backbone, but made the decision to instead focus on our partnerships with other schools and programs within the university. The university is about 17,000 students, maybe 20,000 member campus altogether. So we're a real small percentage. I think we represent 3% of the overall student body. And that shows when we get things like student fees. But this was an opportunity for us to really push our weight around, but also push the campus forward a bit. There's no other facility at the University of Oregon like this. It's really going to set the standard. So we worked with IBM on a number of issues. We worked with Xerox ultimately to provide our new high-speed digital and analog copying needs. Really trying to form an alliance. Where can they help us get to in the future? What is the technology that they're looking at bringing that they want to showcase here at the U of O School of Law? And then other schools and programs within the institution. Business schools are natural for us. We've got a joint program with them. The environmental studies program is a natural. We've got a joint program with them. How can we help bring them along? And what can we get from them? And then we're also working with the U.S. Federal Court here in town. They have a new building coming online in the next 2 years, and we're talking very actively with them about making sure that what they're doing integrates with what we have here, so we can be doing real live classroom environment with them. And the local firms, our clinics, how is what we do going to benefit the students, and what are those groups out there in the local community that can take advantage of it? The politics, of course, are ever present. University-wide realities. What can we do within the constraints of what we're doing? One of those was choosing what our switching hardware was going to be. And after all said and done, I'm really glad that because of the breaks, they're going to come in as opposed to an outside vendor. But then the opportunities. I'm not worrying so much about Internet 2 here in the building because the campus as a whole is worrying about Internet 2. I'm not thinking about wireless right now because the wireless we were thinking about was a competing standard with what the rest of the university was thinking about. If I want my students to be able to walk outside the building wireless, I'm going to have to go with what they're choosing to go with. And we're working on it together. But right now, central computing is the one putting the money and time and research into it. And I'm happy to let them do it. But the University of Oregon is a terrifically wired university in general. And the law school is just one piece of it. But it's consistently ranked up there in the top for public institutions. Why did I put this up here? Who you get to work with, The person over at Central Computing says, you want to talk to so-and-so. Well, sometimes that works great. And they hook you up and get you where you need to go. Other times it's like, going out with your boss's daughter or something like that. It doesn't work out the way you want it to. Not that I've ever done that. Finally, the most important part of politics for me is getting everybody here at the law school to buy into it. We came up with a terrific vision. We came up with a lot of things, and people said, why would we need to do that? 2 years ago, people weren't thinking in our environment about using technology in the classroom as actively as now we are thinking about it. And so getting people to buy into that vision, and most importantly the price tag, is probably the biggest political battle that we face, or the biggest political discussion that we engage in. And then the product, here we have the product. Abilene Law Center. Trying to think about what we have now and what we're going to work towards in the future. I think wireless is definitely a part of that, but we wanted to make sure that in every seat, in every classroom, in every place we could think of in the building that people could plug in whatever they have. And I think given costs right now for wireless PCMC network cards compared to wired, our infrastructure and just the bandwidth that you're going to get, I'm happy with where we are. It's just such a big difference. Going from the old building, which was renovated in 1992. President Perlmeyer may have alluded to this when he was dean of law. And it's a great thing. Having the president of the university be a former dean for the law school is a great partner. You can't go wrong there. But we renovated the building back in 92, and it's this old concrete slab construction. And they had to push cable through all the concrete. It wasn't just open walls and studs. It was solid. Bandwidth. That's really what think if I left tomorrow, I'd want to make sure that we have the capacity to move forward. I think right now we're there. And then, what do we do with it? All the multimedia technology we have in the classrooms, distance learning and distance teaching. I don't know why I said distance teaching, but I think it had to do with having people come to our classroom over the internet. What we're doing this weekend with the encoders, I think, are a great example. I wanted to see if it worked. We've been working on this most of the day. Might work. Well, there you go. How long is it even sound? So it is working. It's a little behind. It's just a little behind. My understanding is that they're just encoding and saving all this stuff for the future. There's a little delay in the technology. But, opportunities with the federal building, with obviously on-campus interviewing where they don't have to be on campus, having guest speakers come from other universities and not leave their offices. That's, I think, what's really going to be able to enrich our students' education is trying to bring those resources here via the network. And my main focus here at the law school is integrating that technology into the curriculum, as I think it is for most of us. The tools and toys are fun and all, but if we don't do anything with them, I think right now we've got a fantastic law school, second to none. But tomorrow I'm going to have to prove it. And proving it is, what are we going to do with it? And in the middle of all this, we have to be thinking about moving forward. 2 weeks from now, we're hosting a class with about a dozen of our law school faculty. We're going to learn how to develop their own classes for the web. It's been like pulling teeth, to get them there. But those that have already gone through it are incredible advocates. Completely bought into the process. Love it. If I can get this next dozen through the process and we can get some of their materials up, we've got case law, all sorts of printed materials that we're porting to the web right now. As we get 2 GTFs for this coming year that are just working on faculty web development projects with my faculty. Really beefing up the staff on that end. That's where we're going to end up, I think, really making an opportunity for our students. What did we learn through the process? Definitely that we need to stay involved. It was more than a 2-year process, and some of the choices we made 2 years ago aren't the right choices now. Some of the choices that we didn't even make 2 years ago, some of the little things that we had. Just 2 days ago, we plugged in these little packs that control these microphones. Well, they're battery powered that you have to turn on and off. And they were going to be hidden deep inside this lectern. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I went out today and I bought $50 in batteries. I don't know what to do about it. Who's going to remember to turn it off? Right. 2 years ago, we decided to get a picture tell system, ISDN. Well, 2 years later, I don't think we should have bought that system. The price for us to go from ISDN to IP is going to cost us quite a bit. Our role as the IT staff and as the client changed a lot over the process, and I think that was real interesting, and I think it's changing again just this week. But we definitely started out as part of the visioning process, the collaborator, the decision maker, that we want this, work with us to make it happen. Then the specs, 100% specs, that's great. Then we had all our contractors and they went out and started working on it. And we became a customer. And there was a long period of time when we really weren't in the decision-making process. And when we moved into this building, it wasn't done. We finally just got fed up and said, we have to move. And we moved, and I think we had 2 of the classrooms ready out of all of them. that we have now. And we were starting classes that day here in the building. And we just finally told the contractors, we're moving in. Mostly because we had to move out. And so we came back to the role of customer decision maker, where suddenly the customer's always right again, and they have to listen to us, and we're in the environment. And I think that's a real interesting experience, to be in the environment while it's being built. As new construction, you're looking around saying, oh, maybe that wasn't such a great idea 2 years ago. Maybe we need to change that. I learned about this just recently. I'm issuing change orders all the time now. I'm saying, no, I don't want data there. Well, it's in the spec. Well, give me a change order. And the contractors are really enjoying it because they're finishing up their job faster. I'm enjoying it because it means we're not going to have to spend even more money on the back end, having our own people come back in to do it. The central network people who always charge you, no matter how nice you are. That's been a real powerful tool for us. Obviously, technology alone is not enough. You got to have the bandwidth. But the focus always needs to be on what are you going to do with it. It's a lot of fun to get wrapped up into the nuts and bolts, but ultimately it's got to come back down to what we're going to make of it. My father told me once when I was maybe 6, and he was teaching on my first home improvement project. He said, this isn't going to work the first time, and it's going to take us way longer than we think it will. And every project I've ever worked on ever since has always been like that. I mean, yeah, rarely, occasionally you get something, a little technology support. You do it and it works, and you walk out and feel great. But chances are no. Chances are everything's always going to take twice as long, and this building is easily the example of that. We thought we would be moving in November of last year. That was the original plan. And I should show you pictures from November of last year, because that would have been kind of sad. And then we thought we would move in March, and then we thought we would move in May. And finally we just said we're moving in. A lot of the things, the change orders, the other issues, and we're facing this daily as we still try and get things going, is to not just be thinking about, the point A to point B to point C process that we put together. We've had to get real creative with making things work. These systems this weekend are a perfect example. We've had people running around all over the place thinking about how to hook camcorders into computers and get our audio inputs. And somebody asked me earlier today, well, could you show a videotape here and broadcast to the other classrooms? And I said, sure, but when you think about it for a while. There's really a perfect solution to a custom job. And the last thing I learned, especially in bringing our faculty and staff and new students into this building, is that the role changed, once again when we moved in. And for a while, it was our building. I mean, it was the IT staff's building. We just had the run of the place. And it was really up to us. We were here several weeks in advance to welcome everybody to the building, to make sure that everybody felt as comfortable as possible. There were a lot of bumpy roads, a lot of rocky things that could have happened, but we really made a point to make it as smooth a process for everybody, because if you're ever, trying to move faculty out of their offices, and you think, just trying to jockey for positions in this new building, out of the old building, we finally based it on a tenure system, but no, the tenure system wasn't exactly right, because some people had been deans before they were tenured. So you have to work through all those issues. We switched copiers and printers at the same time. That might have been a mistake. Maybe we took on too much at the same time. But ultimately, we tried to make everything as smooth as possible, and we really became advocates for the building. I'd be sitting in the back office grumbling about something some contractor just did, and then a staff person would walk in. Everything would have to be okay for them. We moved all their computers, all the network, everything over. We had one person lose her email, and one person forget a password that locked up her machine. And she had done a backup the day before. And that was all we lost in the entire move process. Everything else worked. The movers were great. We moved all of our own movers just because I was freaked out about the servers breaking. I figured if the servers were going to fall down, it was going to be my fault and not somebody else's. But that was all we lost in the whole move process. That and a couple of days at a time. We really, literally shut the old building down on a Wednesday and opened the new building on a Monday. And everybody was back up and running. And I took 2 days off in that time period. I don't know what I was thinking, but I felt very good about the move. It was a piece of cake for me. And we're not done, obviously. I mean, what you see around you today is probably 95%. You see in this room, I think is a great example, all these little green stickers. All these little green stickers are things we still need to fix. I've got a 6-page long list of things for the AV system that still need to be fixed. We've got a 12-page list just for the classrooms. I mean, the whole courtroom is the saw shop still for the contractors. There's still got a long way to go. And you know, I think we'll get there by August. I think we'll get there in time for all the students to come back. But in the meantime, it's definitely a work in progress. And we're doing tours, you know, a tour tomorrow and a tour on Saturday, but I encourage you to just walk around, take a look at things, ask questions. My staff are in their offices most of the day. The library staff are around. Take advantage of all those people and ask questions. And we'll be posting. I've had some requests already to post like our spec list of what we purchased, all the AV equipment, the networking equipment. We'll get that all up there and make that available because it's really been interesting for us. I think we made some good choices. In some cases, I think we made some bad choices, but it's been an educational experience. The barbecue is in 10 minutes. We've just been putting together an AV system from all of our equipment we pulled out of the old building. So we can be playing music and have a wireless mic set up outside. This is all the technology that was left from the old building. But the AV technician thought it would be a great project to try and put this all together. So we're going to wheel that down and show you what we used to have. And then maybe later we'll show some videos in these new classes and we'll show you what we do. But anyway, thank you very much.